Welcome back, everybody, to the podcast Who Am I? Steve and I want to talk about a very different kind of topic today, and that is UFOs and aliens. And we want to talk about it sincerely, not making fun of it or making fun of
Wow, a little
it.
bit of fun, but
We'll see. But I'm just disappointed in how a lot of news outlets cover it.
oh yeah,
They pick one person who reports on maybe a supposed first-hand experience, and then they take that person apart or his report, and that's it. And then you're left with as much confusion as before.
yeah.
I like it when a bunch of people come forward, bring a lot of evidence, and then you have to choose, do I trust these reports? And
Yeah,
they're very convincing, so it's harder than it was before.
there must be some sort of like graph that the correlation of skeptic or like the more skeptical or cynical really, more cynical a news article is about a thing, the probably more likely it is actually to be true. Like that seems to be like in my brain because like if they're being cynical about the situation, being like trying to make mock of it, trying to just belittle it, then actually there's probably strings being pulled behind the scenes that actually is probably
So you're talking about a misinformation campaign to
like
muddy the
yeah
waters, to mix truth with fiction, to make people so uh, distrusting and no longer confident in the evidence that does exist.
yeah that's definitely the next level. Even
Mhm.
simpler than that, just literally just being like, oh, it's UFOs again, everyone. Look at the crazy person. Here we have blah blah blah, and that like literally just that in itself kind of says to me like, okay, there's a level of skepticism here that I should, or cynicism that I should really look into. Um, because like I'm trying to think of an example that's un-UFO related. Um, where news like stations or articles will like talk about subject matter that they are not necessarily invested in, and they will try and like make it look ridiculous or I mean I guess for example actually you know what example protesting. Um, we have, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy theory around this at the moment, but just stop oil at the moment. Um, although they are owned technically by the people that make the oil, and they're there to try and make everyone look stupid. Um, but if people protest on things like oil or most things, the news stations, whatever you want to call them, programs, will be cynical about it because it's not in their interest. And so with UFOs, and yep, unidentified objects, it tends to be um, tinfoil hat related. That's the old adage.
I like that comparison. So my understanding is the common way to disqualify a protest is for someone to start a fight, that is totally uncharacteristic of the movement as a whole. Start a
Yeah,
fight, set something on fire, and then all cameras will be pointed on that,
yeah,
and that's all you will hear about in the news, and then you will think that's representative of the movement, and you will
yep,
discredit it because you think, well, if they use violence, then I don't care what they're for. I don't care about their message because their methods aren't okay.
yeah,
And then you've just totally silenced the whole message.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like we are on a bit tangent here, but this is what's happened. So in the UK, this Just Stop Oil again. It's run like it is trying to. It's using the need for change to basically discredit people protesting about the need for change. So these people that are being paid or whatever to protest, um, they stopped Pride. I think it was in London actually, or maybe it's Birmingham. I can't remember which one it was, but they threw themselves in front of the Pride parade to protest Just Stop Oil. Right?
Mm.
Let's just stop oil. Don't want any oil anymore. Blah blah. But you're nobody that wants to stop the oil would ever stop a Pride parade because they like people that are wanting to save the world and have that harmony, that love, would also understand and love and harmonize the Pride community. They would never attack them as a form of protest. And so, like, what has been done is to try and, again, as you said, try and start that fire so people go, oh, the Pride, the Just Stop Oil attacked the Pride thing. We don't like Just Stop Oil. Just Stop Oil's bad. We need to get rid of the Just Stop Oil. And so the oil companies have now done their job to turn people against protesting against oil. And it's such fascinating psychology. And again, it's done in lots of different ways in all sorts of branches. But that example should be a case study for how these things are done within corporations and within the media. And I think the same thing will be done. I mean, fascinating. The kind of going back to our topic of UFOs, Area 51. Area 51 is a fascinating thing which happened a few years ago where they were like, oh, they're letting everyone into Area 51 or whatever.
You mean
like,
masses of people looking for it in Nevada?
No, like it was confirmed that it exists a few years ago, and people were there, news reports were all there. I mean, a year or two before, they'd removed everything. Like, they'd removed everything and changed the location. And so everyone was all like, yeah, Area 51, we're going to know about all the aliens. We're going to know about what's going on and blah, blah, blah. And then it turns out, obviously, that there's nothing. Like, it's just like, okay, it's just a military base. And then people go, oh, well, whatever. Area 51, obviously, it was just a silly little thing, blah, blah. And it's almost like revealing what's behind the magician's curtain, as it were, but there's another magician's curtain behind it that you don't see. Like, that's one of the greatest things that you could do to someone is reveal a truth as a truth, but that truth is a lie because it's covering up the actual one. They say that about the Masons. They say that all the stuff that the Masons release, a lot of people say that is actually just stuff that they want you to re-release so that you think you know what they do. So then you stop looking. You go, oh, okay, I know about what the Masons do or whatever, and then that stops you from looking any further.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, and I think that's what they did, in my personal opinion. Which gets us to the question, I guess: Do we believe in UFOs? Do we believe that there are aliens that can start us off, I guess, in some way?
Yeah, that's a good question to ask. Well, when do you believe that something is true? When you've experienced it yourself, or when you trust someone who has experienced it themselves? Or the more people there are in between you and the person with a first-hand experience, the weaker the trust gets, right? Or the belief. And so I have no first-hand experience with aliens, but I have watched lots of material by Stephen Greer. He's an American, and he has collected for decades just evidence about these experiences, and he has lots of witnesses. And there is just a few days ago, it's been a month almost, he had this 3-hour conference with several witnesses coming forward who had been too afraid to say anything because their life was threatened, or their means of life. And so censorship is very prevalent in this area. But anyway, my view is that I'm open to it. I have, I guess, developed a certain worldview that doesn't allow for aliens, if I'm strict about it, but I'm not strict about my worldview. I'm actually more open to discarding it than ever. So, but even if there are conflicts between different beliefs that I have, I've developed the ability to hold them at the same time.
Good.
And just delaying the resolution of the conflict.
That's so beautiful. Like, again, that ability to, because I always had this quote I've had for years where I believe in everything and nothing all at once. And it's because I believe that you can contain contradictory beliefs within yourself and both believe them and not believe them, because you don't necessarily know if they do exist or not, or that you do have that feel it's a truth. and you can have another truth as well because it's your truth. You can view it however you want to view it. The mind is adaptable enough to do that, and I think it shows a very open mind and healthy mind, in my opinion, to be able to not just narrow your worldview.
We have tons of conflict in us anyway.
Yeah,
Whenever you're choosing the lesser of two evils, or when you're doing something because it has to be done, those are signs of you suppressing one belief in order to make another happen.
yeah. So why can't we do that for bigger things? Yeah, it's a very, very good way of putting it.
So UFO is kind of an outdated term now. Have you come across
Yeah.
the term UAP? It means
UAP,
unexplained
probably.
aerial phenomenon.
Yeah,
And I mean, I don't mind using the term UFO, but UAP I like because it is more general. So it's not only about vehicles, you know,
yes,
these flying saucepans, for example, or saucers, um,
yeah,
but just anything that is, you know, usually in the air or, you know, up there. It doesn't have to be actually there. There are some
yeah,
interesting reports about underwater aliens. Anyway,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
but just unexplained phenomena. Let's put it that way.
yeah,
And it doesn't have to be something so solid or material. It could be anything unexplained. And the word alien just means foreign, right? It doesn't have to
yes.
be some life form.
That's the evolution of language, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
again, alien used to just mean like again like people that came to your like from different country. They were
yes,
aliens because they were just different from you. And then it's become science fiction obviously adopted that, or media adopted that, or whoever adopted it, and it became a term to mean extraterrestrial, like something that's the typical populist view of alien.
right. Let's go into some common criticisms of even taking the possibility on that there could be aliens. Um, if so, first of all, why have we never seen them if they exist? Well, we only have a certain range of what we can see in the universe, not only by distance but also by frequency or just technology. You know, you need a tool to see because obviously your eyes aren't enough of a tool to
Yep.
see very far. Things might be outside of your frequency spectrum or the ones that your tools record. When you see a picture of a distant set of stars by NASA, for example, then that is never what you would see with your naked eye
Yeah.
because it's actually in a different frequency range, and then that is modulated to red, green, and blue so that we can interpret it when we look at it on a screen or a paper. So that's already a difference that a lot of people aren't aware of. Then I'm open to the possibility of there being different dimensions. So even if someone is in the same space, they might be in a different dimension. That's one reason, possible reason for not seeing extraterrestrial life.
Another one is they don't want you to.
Yeah,
Like if there are the all-powerful beings that could be exist as aliens, then yeah, they just don't want us to.
if a race, an extraterrestrial race, were able to come to Earth or near Earth, that would mean that they have technology that we don't have yet. You know, just to even travel that far and probably very fast.
Yeah.
So that opens new questions about technology and our model of the universe. For example, is it possible for something to travel faster than the speed of light? In our current model, no. But what if just someone does? Then our model has to
Yeah.
be discarded and re-examined. If
It's
someone made it all the way here, would they just use their technology to enslave us? Because, you know, the
yeah.
weapons of tomorrow are super weapons for us today.
Yeah, what morality will they have or understand compared to our own?
If someone were near the Earth, why wouldn't we notice them by now? So that's similar to why don't we see them in general?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they may be able to hide from us and our tools.
Again, just because we can't, I guess, see a thing or know of a thing does not mean it doesn't exist. Like, doesn't mean it does exist, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
If there is a race near us, um, and they're not showing themselves, they're not attacking us. You know, many people think immediately if someone is foreign, they must want
we
to hurt
project
us.
our own behaviors
Right.
onto, yep.
But since no one has attacked, so let's assume there is a race hovering over the earth somewhere. Why haven't they attacked us? Well, I guess that shows that they're not like us,
Yeah.
not afraid, not don't have that instinct to hurt everything that you're afraid of. Maybe if they are further advanced in technology, they're also further advanced in psychology.
Again, who knows?
Yeah, well, I just like to speculate about these things.
Yeah, it could be the opposite. It could, well, not the opposite, but it could be different in the sense that they don't want to just blow us up, because if they got bored of that, they've been blowing planets up for years. They've come and they're just like, you know what? Let's mess around with these ones. Let's put in our own people in certain positions and see how we can manipulate the situation and just have fun. They could be like, again, they could be psychotic in our terminology,
right?
Where that's where what they get. That could be how they get food. That's how they could be sustained. Who knows how these things will work? Like, it's, yeah, quite fascinating. The unending situations that we could come up against in the future.
What's your favorite?
Go on. I think you're just about to link the same thing. Go on, say it.
What's your favorite TV show that deals with life beyond Earth?
I was about to go to a film, but we can go to that one as well. My favorite concept of how aliens could be different and stuff is Arrival. Arrival is, I think it's got Amy Adams in it. Not Amy Adams. No.
What's the one? The film from maybe 7 years ago?
About that, yeah. It's the dude who did Dune. It's the one before he did Dune.
I haven't seen it. Is it the one with the linguist in it?
Yes.
Because I remember all my linguist colleagues going to that film.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Amy Adams. Yeah. I think it's brilliant. I think it's a great way to represent how aliens could view things differently. So yeah, that's one of my favorite ones to sort of like in terms of just like broadening my perspective of how that could work. In terms of TV show, my favorite TV show that deals with aliens. I mean, I like all of them. Any TV.
For me, Star Trek comes to mind first.
Well, yeah, Star Trek's the obvious one.
Because
I like
it's a really
Stargate.
big one.
Stargate's one of my favorites. X-Files was a great one. Technically, that's about, has alien stuff in it. To be fair, any that's done reasonably well, like any, because again, it captures the imagination. It's different from our norms. Any of those kind of things, we like, which kind of brings us to a sort of like, again, our ability to imagine and create, and need something different and outside, could be ultimately could be all this is.
Would you agree that stories like TV shows and books on aliens can't be too different from the way we know life on Earth? Because otherwise we would have no connection to them. We would have no reference. It would be totally random and meaningless and not entertaining.
This is what, this is a topic that I struggle with, because yes, like for it to work and be popular, yes. For it to like, because even again, I talk about it all the time outside of things, but even in the podcast, but even with Dune, like it doesn't really deal with actually aliens that much. It deals mostly with humans, but it's so different that even now, releasing a film, and the part 2 is coming out soon, people still disconnect from it and don't get it. They don't want to, because they don't have a point of reference they can understand. So yeah, like these TV shows and books and everything, for it to capture the attention of the majority of people, it needs to have it's narrowed by the fact that people have to have it relate to them. And yeah, there's a subculture of people that don't want that, but they are in the minority. Like again, I love anything that doesn't have humanity related, like anything that's just completely different. Great, give me that kind of stuff, because I feel it's very arrogant and vain of us to always need and like self-indulgent to need a point of reference of ourselves and our own ways of thinking, our own ways of doing things. But also, that makes it enjoyable. Like the devil's advocate to my own argument, having those things do make it relatable in some ways. We can connect to them better, etc., etc. I've always fascinated by the concept, and I know we're being a bit like fact first versus just speculation, because we're speculating a lot about different things, and that's that's fun to do. But continuing, I guess, speculation for now, I like the concept, and I don't know how popular it is amongst just people in general, is that everything we learn or experience is preparation for the future. So we experience our life as we know it. Lol. Life as we know it, Jim. But it's all working towards being able to understand future things. So my personal opinion is that actually all this stuff about aliens, all this improvement in technology, all this awakening and awareness of what truly matters, like nature and love and compassion, because that's an ongoing thing, is that we're being fed it from the universe, a higher source or whatever, to prepare us for when we do encounter aliens. Like, again, sticking to the aliens thing, it's like all this, like how popular it's become to again watch TV shows about it, to enjoy films about it, even things like Star Wars. Star Wars has loads of aliens in it. I personally think it's there to, when the time comes when we meet other beings, that actually we're less likely to freak out. Like, an example is what brain dead film, well, originally a radio thing, broadcast that in America they thought it was actually aliens attacking War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds, yeah.
Yes. When that happened, and how people actually, did freak out and think it was a real thing. They actually thought it was happening. And so the time comes when it does actually, if it does happen, when it happens, whatever, that we kind of like, we'll be speechless and be like, oh no, what? But also we'll be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, we've experienced this already. We've been through it through our own either imagination or knowledge that's been given to us. Because there's I believe that we are moving towards that in many ways.
Are you saying the aliens are the ones giving us information?
Who knows? Again, who knows? Maybe they're like, maybe it's being sent to us so that we are more prepared for when they come to us. Maybe they're sending it. Who knows? Maybe not. Maybe there is a god or a being that is overseeing everything, that is also now helping us to be prepared to meet other creations or beings or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah, that's what you just reminded me of. So when Christians hear about aliens, they automatically try to unify the two notions.
They either say like aliens don't exist and you can't have aliens if you have God. They contradict each other, or it's that God created aliens.
What? So.
Or God is the alien.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. So,
okay, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, so if we think of, everyone has a slightly different image of God in their minds. Okay.
Yep.
So mine is that he's a man, that he has a body like me, but that the body is somehow immortal, and we like to say perfected, but what does that mean? That means, no longer object to sickness, weakness, stuff like that. But
you also believe that God is female as well.
Yeah.
Not the same God, but a different. The God is a plural term to cover.
Yeah.
Because the gods is something you believe in as well.
There have been so many approaches to this. What was I getting at? So imagine the gods being a different race. Very similar to us, but different in maybe the attributes that I just mentioned about the state of your body, for example. Then that would mean that this alien came to this planet when it was uninhabited and set down Adam and Eve and said, okay, start this new race. And same with animals. And then one day you can become like us. you can upgrade to this other race. That's one way of possibly unifying the two things.
Yeah. I think a lot of
it's just weird to think of God as an alien, but he doesn't live on this planet. He has slightly different anatomy or morphology. So yeah, that kind of sounds like aliens.
Yeah, yeah. Like, and a lot of, I guess, religion. I guess the more, I guess, the more seen as, I guess, far out there religions like Scientology, like Mormonism. I'm sure there's other prime examples where aliens are actually part of the law. Like that is part of the concepts. Um, as you say, like God being an alien, potentially, should technically be classed as an alien in those traditional senses. And it's, I guess it's kind of would put it into, I guess it just puts it into terms that we understand now, as it were. Like it puts into terminology that we can kind of like to go through. But whether it's religious culture or just culture in general, throughout history, they're like reaching for the stars, as it were, has been a common theme. Like Babylonians love the stars, they their advancements in astronomy were pretty amazing. Like they knew the positionings of planets and stuff without much of what we would consider technology. And the theory is, again, a lot of theories which I like, is that actually aliens have been around for a long time. And so given different cultures and societies technology to help them, continue to progress. Like a massive one, and I don't believe in much of what he says, but I like to listen to him, is Joe Rogan. Like Joe Rogan, like he gets people on his show and just talks about all sorts of, world class conspiracy theories. But it's fascinating information. Like it's fascinating information, the possibilities behind the stuff. But going back to, that's all, that's all the skeptical stuff. That's all the not skeptical, that's the wrong word. That's all the
Are you talking about Graham Hancock on
no,
his
Joe
show?
Rogan. Joe
I
Rogan.
mean, he has had Graham Hancock on a few
Oh,
times,
okay, cool.
and
Yep.
that is an archaeologist
Yep.
who is open to aliens, but he says he doesn't
Yeah.
need them to be there to explain
Well, yeah.
humans being alive for more than 11,000 years.
Yeah. No, Joe Rogan just loves talking about aliens. He's kind of like, just with anyone that comes on, he'll talk about different things he's heard or whatever, very casually, but it's just quite interesting, some of the stuff about
But
like,
they talk about it seriously, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um yeah, it's
I
pretty,
like to think that we have been prepared to think about, to discuss aliens for over 100 years because of science fiction literature.
yeah.
Um, but I think there's a switch in our brains that still says all of this is fiction. Just
Yeah.
remember that. Don't confuse this with the real world, with paying bills and going
Yeah.
shopping.
It really is. There really is a wall to it. There's a real strong barrier in even someone like me, who I consider myself to be a very open-minded person. There is some programming in me that goes, don't, like that's silly.
Mhm.
Um, that's again, I'm trying to find the word I used earlier on, like that. When you just talk about a thing that can't possibly, like you don't know if it's possible or not. 'Cause you've got
Yeah.
obviously facts and your truth. Um, Speculation. That's it. Speculation. A lot of this, what we've talked about today, is all the fun stuff that is speculation, because it's hard to find the facts in this topic. And
Right.
like you talked about at the start about, what was the dude's name again?
Stephen Greer.
Stephen Greer.
So when someone like him presents a ton of evidence and witnesses, what does that do to your brain? Does it automatically protest and maybe cringe and want to avoid this
Yeah,
information?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's what happens. It seems to be some programming that's taken place where we just go, again, the tinfoil hat thing. That's
Mhm.
always the go-to thing, is this person's crazy and this person is like, yeah, needs to
Well,
be ignored and just forgotten about.
so let's go into that because we love
Yeah.
psychology on this podcast. Why does our brain do that? Why? How do we feel attacked or offended if someone says this all this belief about how do you believe the world works is totally wrong? Do you go straight to, oh, I've been lied to, or do you So we talk about this self-protection mechanism,
Yeah.
but are you able to let it go and then just say he's crazy and it can't be true and therefore it isn't true? What do you do?
It's so tough. Like I both believe and don't believe at the same time. Again, I know I'm annoying when I say those kind of things, but like I know that whatever he's saying could be perfectly true. I know that I have a lack of information and evidence on my own part, which both hinders and helps me believe him and not believe him. Because the lack of evidence on my part is like, well, it's literally like I've never seen or experienced this, so what? Why should I believe these people? But ultimately, why shouldn't I believe these people? Like, so it's again that conflict of contradictions.
Does it make you curious?
Oh, without question. Like, yeah, like
Because that shows some open-mindedness.
yeah, curious beyond belief. But again, I can't do anything about it. Like again, there's ultimately I spend as little time as possible on these things because they have no influence to me in my life.
But
So
wouldn't change your whole life if it were true?
of course, but I like, how do I find that out?
So they have possible influence on your life. You just can't know it. Well, you don't know it right now.
I guess
I always
yeah,
I always
I choose
believe
not
that
to. Yeah,
yeah, that's true. It is a choice, even if if you're making it subconsciously. I always believe that it's impossible to know whether something is impossible to know. When someone says I cannot know whether that's true or not, then I think that's arrogant of you.
yes,
You
yeah,
should be less ignorant.
yes.
So
Right now in my space and time, and my limitations, um,
in my perceived limitations,
Steve limitations.
so
I mean, if I was to take drugs and expand my consciousness and find some interdimensional beings and aliens, and come back and be like, "Hey, cool, I learned these things," I would. I mean, you still couldn't guarantee it was real because, again, it could just be the mind doing mind things, and it's like until I'm talking to an alien, to a being that is not from this realm, as it were, this reality that we know it. It has little to no consequence on my goals, on my again, my choices.
one of the objections you might have is I don't have the tools, I don't have the money, I don't have the time and the
Yeah,
energy to go into this and to find out for certain if there are
yeah,
aliens or not. But I've watched two of his documentaries and a bunch of other videos, and there was something that surprised me, but a pleasant surprise. In one of his documentaries, he is sitting outside with a group of people, maybe a dozen, in the middle of the night, just somewhere in a field, and they are supposedly watching some UAP in the sky. And I don't know if they can see it with their eyes or with a telescope. I don't even know about that. But they are meditating and they are connecting with some extraterrestrial being out there in a spiritual way. And so I thought, when I saw that, I thought, oh, well, if that's possible, maybe I can do it too, because that doesn't require money or tools or
yeah,
whatever access. Just and I don't know, I haven't gone into that further. It just gave me some new ideas on this topic, and I thought, yeah, I already have a pretty strong belief in remote viewing, in ESP, what's that, extrasensory perception, and if it's possible or maybe even necessary to make contact with aliens through ESP, then that's really interesting. And maybe that's how they've been able to hide from us, not just through our own censorship, but because it requires someone to be at peace with themselves, to be able to meditate, to be
yeah.
able to just be open to all kinds of
Got
things.
to listen. Yeah, got to listen.
So
But
that's
like, it's what is fascinating to me is why America? Like, so much of America is, even ancient America, even again the Aztecs, etc. There is so much like stuff around UAPs. Is that what we're calling them these days? UAPs. And like there isn't as much in other places.
mhm.
Like other places don't seem to have that same. And again, I'm just speculating, just asking questions.
No, I know what you mean. It's like in movies, whenever aliens attack the Earth, they attack North America.
Yeah, like what is it about? Like are they just obsessed with it, so therefore it's more prevalent? Like they like extremes, like, and it, yeah, it always kind of makes me go, hmm, that's a bit off. But then again, there's things to counteract that where, aliens may have been the first, like, contact them first times. They might just like that land. Who knows? Like, whatever. But being able to, again, to find, I guess, truth, find realities about the alien side of things, yeah, like, I don't know where I stand on all that because, like, I'm open to it, obviously, but it's like, if these people who are trying to debunk alien stuff and get it out there and make it true, like show us the truth, why aren't they more enlightened than they are? Like, if these aliens have technology, if they have things, then they should be turning around and being and like assuming they're trying to like help us to find out about them or whatever. Then surely there should be more tangible evidence. Like there should be. Like there should be way more tangible evidence. You would think. Again, that's just me. Again, there's always points to counteract that, like, oh, you know what, they don't get too involved with society, with humanity. They're just there to influence us, or they've been killed by another race of aliens, and this is just an echo left over. Like, again, trying to find out the answer is tough in this situation, especially as with oh my goodness, my brain is so dead today. Stephen Greer.
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 I will reference him in the notes.
Yeah, that governments are trying to, stop people, kill people that try to release their stuff. And a kind of segue to a degree is not the alien aspect, but the human aspect. I think it's that video you sent me talked about it.
Right. For example, man-made UFOs.
Yes. So, I mean, we had, what was it, last year? Or maybe even this year, with all these balloons going around from China, and, that seemed to have just died a death and not being talked about anymore. Even though they were shot down and found. Yeah, like the money and the projects that go into technology and discovery, that would make more sense to me, is that a lot of this stuff is actually just human projects. Like ships that can fly faster than we actually realize they can, and being able to teleport from one side of the planet to the other. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we have that technology. What's the other one? Like sustainable energy, like whatever
anti-gravity.
Yeah, like I would not be surprised if all that kind of exists and has been discovered, but it won't be released because
because why? Let's go into that. Why, if there were this advanced technology, why would there be such a concerted effort to hide it?
Because it would unify things. So at the moment, division is the key to making money and power. So if these big people at the top are making money off of this situation and having power, which has led to this discoveries, they wouldn't want those discoveries, because the discoveries would then take away their own powers and their own influence.
Yeah, one traditional thing that they would lose is the need for oil and gas.
Yeah,
right. That would no longer be around.
Well, that's that technology. If you,
so that's the energy thing. They would, I don't know. You said new technologies would unite us. I'm curious what you're thinking of there. Is that because there would be no more need for war, as in fighting over resources?
Yeah, potentially. Again, I guess I should say that it should highly likely unite us, because, if we remove the need for, again, natural resources in that sense, and again, it may lead to a massive war first. Like, I just mean
War
long
over the
term.
new technologies.
Yeah, I mean like long term, it would lead to, in my opinion, again, depending on what technologies are, but at least that's my belief that they would do that, because that's why they don't release it. Like the lack of it being released shows that they're afraid of that happening. So yeah, that's why I believe that they could highly.
Do you believe that there are human inventions for free energy that are being censored right now?
I wouldn't be surprised. Like, it would not be surprised in the slightest.
So we don't even need aliens to bring us new technologies to have this problem, right?
Well, unless they gave it to us again. I assume that we've made it, but they could be the ones that have given it to us to use.
Right.
But yeah, let's say that we've just, again, through imagination and creation, have invented these things. I don't see why not. Like, we live in a world where we can do all sorts of things, and
it's sad to think of Nikola Tesla. He was such a genius.
Yeah.
And why don't we have more of his insights and technologies? Because, well, one reason is that he wasn't funded enough. I think, wow, it comes down to a money problem.
Yeah.
Edison was better funded, so he became more famous and more successful in that sense. But Nikola Tesla had to sell invention, or blueprints to inventions to the owner of the hotel that he was staying in towards the end of his life, just to survive. And then when he died, the FBI came and stole all his notes.
Yeah. Yep, it's diabolical, some of the stuff that's gone on.
And you have to go to America to make it big with these things. It's a bit like Elon Musk. Some people don't even know that he's South African.
Yes.
But
And don't even realize that he's not a self-made man. Like, this is what's hilarious.
Right.
Everyone's like, I hate this so much that it's him. Was it him? I think it's Jobs and
Zuckerberg?
Oh no, it's not Jobs. Sorry, it's Zuckerberg and Bill Gates. They all had substantial amounts of money and capital before getting, like, to be able to make their money. They're not self-made men.
Yeah.
But they're taught, like they are, to continue this nonsense that you don't need money to become rich or whatever. It's like, no, you do. Like,
at one point, Tesla was bailed out by the government to survive.
Yep. And so, as you say, you have to have these mythologies about you, or go to the promised land like America to be able to again get funding for space stuff or whatever. Like,
no, I think it's true that you have to go to America if you have to play in the club with the big boys. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's had to go there. He's had to go get involved with America to be able to. The interesting one is going to be China again. China's just, again, a fascinating, huge petri dish of.
I just recently heard from a random YouTube video that China has its own space station. I think so many things go on in China that we don't even hear about. But maybe for the reason that we're not supposed to believe that China is so powerful and successful and rich in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's interesting what we're supposed to believe about places and things.
Yeah, it's another way of dividing us, right? And distracting us and not making progress. So, of all the stuff that I've watched on this topic, it's just exciting. I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic when I hear Stephen Greer say there's no evidence that aliens are hostile. They are mature, and they want what's best for us. And so in his view, right now, that is waiting for us to become more mature and maybe then helping us out with our problems. He also says that free energy would be good. It would have to be implemented in an open source way, because
it's like the internet. It's like the internet. if that had been prioritized from the start, we'd be screwed. We'd live in a whole different reality. But because it was forced and made to be open source, then that's why we can do what we can do. And it'll be the same with renewable energy, whatever it is. That if it is open to everyone, then good. If not, it's going to be interesting. Another thing that actually, again, this is a bit of a tangent here, a little bit, is I want to talk about was again, we talk about funding and money. The Pentagon. This is one reason that I do believe in aliens, because like it's such a simple thing, but it's the fact that trillions of dollars are just gone missing.
Yeah.
Like literally, like in their sort of program, like when they go, hey, what's all your money being spent on? They're like, we don't know. Like what? Like what the heck? So that money, like, is paying, in my opinion, is paying for things to be built to communicate with them, things to be built to suppress it, blah blah. Like that's a far out, or seen as a far out belief. But it's the one thing that swings me from just being like neutral to being like, actually, you know what? There must be something going on there. That requires them to fund something.
One of Stephen Greer's documentaries is called Unacknowledged, and it talks about unacknowledged special access programs. So that's the kind of thing you're talking about. This is black budget, underground things, probably related to the military. But he says that people like senators and presidents and generals have no idea what goes on because they're denied access. They are not qualified. So that's, and then he goes into, secret governments, and there's a front government, and then there's a hidden government.
Yeah. And it's like, what else would it be spending on? Like so many things, they'd just be transparent if it wasn't something so mind-blowing or potentially mind-blowing as aliens. Like, where else would that money be going?
Yeah.
Like, it's bonkers, absolutely bonkers. So yeah, I'm a 51% believer.
All right.
That's that 1%.
I couldn't put a number to it myself.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting. I think it's possible, and I'm optimistic if it were true. Not just for materialistic reasons, but also the spirituality. What could we learn from more mature races about who we are and purpose of life? And if we're just a kindergarten to them, then what have they learned that we haven't yet?
Yeah, my ongoing joke is so obviously we as a species divide ourselves again, like we nationalism, even down to the point of your local village. The village over is your village that you should hate, and you rivalry and whatever. And then everyone's always like, if aliens came along, it would make us see that, like in Star Trek, would make us see that there's a bigger plan out there, a bigger universe, and we'd all be unified and in peace and in harmony. But then what would happen is another race of aliens would appear, and because we're friends with the first alien, we would then see the other aliens be as different, and then we'd be divided against those aliens. There'd always be, or like a third alien would come along, and then it like would be see ourselves as people that like that alien, and then other like species, and then others would be like, no, we prefer these alien species, and then that would create division, and like it would just keep perpetuating no matter what. Is my sort of cynical like laughter at humanity's like inability to just be at peace with things, and it's like it just be like, oh yeah, we should just all be one. We all think there's gonna be something that's gonna fix that, like an alien species arriving or whatever, or a god, or whatever. All these different concepts that are supposed to sort of unite us, but actually just being human should be the thing that unites us. That should be like the simplistic thing. We always seem to look beyond what's right in front of us. And it does fascinate me that we seem to lose that ability. And hopefully aliens will, if they appear, if they talk to us, whatever, they will help us, guide us to more harmony. But we don't need them ultimately. We shouldn't need them as a species.
So the thing you were describing sounds a lot like non-duality to me. That's something we should definitely talk about one of these episodes. How duality is the belief that something can be different from another thing, and or that things even exist, and what would life, what would the universe be like without such a belief? And it is possible, and I'm starting to learn about it, and it's really exciting.
Yeah. Yes. That it's all just part of a whole, and therefore that whole is all you need. You don't need these divisions when they don't exist. Kind of thing. Yeah. I'm down for that. But no,
Okay, thank you.
It's been fun chatting about aliens again.
Yeah.
We've talked about things that hopefully will be revealed as truth. We've talked about things that are just speculation and wonderful. We hope we haven't lost anyone in our chats in terms of considering us tinfoil hat people. But hopefully you're all open-minded enough and to even consider the possibility, because that's what we're here for. And although we haven't related it to who am I really, but I guess it's been in the discussion, hasn't it? We've been talking about how it relates to us and our perspectives. But we appreciate that you come and listen to us and discuss these things with us.
All right, see you next time.
Bye.